Hi there and welcome. I'm Angela Burns, and today I want to talk about something that shows up in every painter's life, no matter how experienced you are. If you're an occasional hobby artist or a full time professional artist, it is the number one reason you avoid painting. This is the thing that gets between you and the easel, between your intention and your action. Today, we're talking about a little thing called resistance. If you've ever planned to paint, but somehow ended up doing the laundry, making a snack, or spiraling into a squirrel hole instead, this one is for you. Maybe you can relate to this. I had a recent morning where I had carved out a lovely 1 hour window for painting, just 1 hour. I had my coffee ready, I had my plan, but then resistance came for me in full force. First came the outside stuff of resistance. My husband needed something. My oldest daughter popped in a few times asking a lot of questions. My father in law showed up at the door to drop something off for the family. And that quiet, protected little 1 hour I had set aside for painting kept getting pushed back and back and back. Eventually, those outside forces quieted down, but even once those external interruptions quieted down, something even more powerful showed up: internal resistance. I sat down at my easel, feeling frustrated and trying to quiet my mind, but inside, my brain was anything but quiet. A flood of thoughts came in. I don't have as much time anymore to paint. Maybe I should just do it tomorrow. We were out late last night, so maybe I'm too tired. Maybe I should run down to the local coffee shop and get my favorite drink first. Maybe that will help me focus. What if this painting doesn't work out? What if I fail? As painters, we all face resistance. It shows up in sneaky, frustrating, and sometimes convincing ways. There's a quote I love from The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Resistance will tell you anything to keep you from doing your work. It will perjure, fabricate, it will seduce you. Resistance is insidious. It will assume any form. Resistance is always lying. So today I want to talk about this: what resistance really looks like for painters and what to do when it shows up. If you've ever sat down to paint and feel like the universe sends you a little parade of interruptions marching straight through your painting window, you'll relate to these thoughts. Resistance will show up for all of us. And the trick isn't avoiding it. The trick is learning how to recognize it and gently move through it. Let's talk about 3 of the biggest ways resistance shows up for artists and how to move through each one. Number 1, external resistance. This is the life stuff. External resistance is the kind of resistance that's the easiest to spot because it usually comes with a knock at the door or a text message dinging on your phone. You're about to paint and somebody needs you, someone calls, there's an appointment, the dishwasher floods, maybe you need to run to the store, you forgot to take the chicken out of the freezer, you were ready to paint, and now suddenly you're managing 5 other things. The thing about external resistance is that it feels like it's out of our control. And sometimes it is. But often it's that we're trying to carve creative time into the cracks and corners of the day that's already overflowing. So here's what helps me. I take a breath and take a moment to just figure out, is this a true emergency? Like one of my kids just hurt themselves and needs a mommy's touch? Even if it's not an emergency, is it something that really can't wait and can be taken care of in less than 3 minutes, like answering the door or throwing the chicken into the crock pot so dinner will be ready later? If it falls into this category, I like to just go ahead and get that out of the way so I can clear the mental space for painting. If it's not an emergency, if it's not time sensitive, if it's not something that I can do in a 3-minute window, then it's time to just put it aside and get on to painting. I schedule painting time into my calendar, and I also schedule a backup time for painting into my calendar. So if my plan is to paint once a week, I have a block that I schedule. And then I also have a backup block in case circumstances outside of my control dictate that that's just not going to be a good block for me to work. I do try to honor my painting times like an appointment as much as I can. I remind myself my art is worthy of space. And the same is true for you. Your art is worthy of space. The second big way that resistance shows up for artists is planning resistance, or what I like to call the setup spiral. Have you ever sat down to paint and then realized you're out of canvas, or you can't find your brushes, or you spend 45 minutes scrolling for the perfect reference photo, and suddenly you're out of the time that you had set aside to paint? This is what I call planning resistance or the setup spiral. You're technically trying to paint, but you set yourself up to fail. If you don't have a clear, simple way to start a painting, like having your materials ready, your workspace set up, your process in place, then every step that you take to start on a painting becomes a new decision. And every new decision becomes a new moment friction. Our brains really do run into decision fatigue. And once they hit enough friction with enough decisions as you're sitting down to paint, eventually it just gives up and doesn't cooperate. That's why I teach a streamlined 6-step process in my mini course called the 1 Hour Painter. So once you know how to move through a painting from start to finish and have followed my process for getting your simple setup organized with only a few colors, you don't find yourself getting stuck in that setup phase anymore. You just get going because you're ready. If you're interested to find out more about the 1 Hour Painter, you can check out the link in the description. If planning resistance is showing up for you, try these. Pick a dedicated spot, however small, to keep your supplies ready. This could be as small as an end table, or maybe it's just a basket of your supplies that you whip out to paint on the kitchen table. I also encourage you to choose one color palette and stick with it for a while. Rather than overwhelming yourself with tons of different colors and which ones to use for which painting, pick one simple color palette with just a few colors. Use a limited number of brushes. Keeping 3 to 4 brushes nearby in different sizes is really enough. Set a timer for 1 hour, and bonus points if you can choose your reference photo the night before. Or if you haven't done that, at the very least, keep one folder or one document where you have your painting reference photos. What you want to do is create a world where it's easy to start painting. Make friction in all the decisions the enemy, and make simplicity your best friend in painting. The third big way that resistance shows up for artists, internal resistance. And this is the tricky one. Now we're really getting into the deep water. This kind of resistance isn't about your preschooler needing a snack or not having the right brush. This is the voice in your head that says, I'm not good enough. This painting is going to flop. I don't even like how I paint right now. What's the point of making this if I don't have a style that I love? Maybe I should be cleaning or loading the dishes instead. I don't have time for this. This is selfish. This is silly. Any of these sound familiar? This is the trickiest kind of resistance because it hides in plain sight. It feels true even though it's not true. This is the resistance that has us scrolling instead of painting, organizing the junk drawer instead of sketching, buying new supplies instead of using what we have. Raise your hand if you're guilty. This is the kind of resistance that lies to you. Every artist that I've ever met, hobby artist or pro artist, has felt this resistance, the internal resistance. So what helps? Here are a few tips. Start anyway. Just begin. Start the background. Put a single color on the canvas to tone the canvas. Set the bar lower. Give yourself permission to make an ugly painting or an imperfect painting or not your best ever painting. Reframe it. Think of this as creative problem solving and not performance. You are playing and learning and improving over time. You're solving one tiny creative problem one at a time. Remember your tool. If your painting does go sideways, you're not stuck. I've made a free guide that I use as a tool if my painting is going sideways. And that free guide is called How to Fix a Bad Painting. It has the 5 pillars of painting mastery listed on there, along with some simple questions under each one that you can use to pinpoint where your painting is going off the tracks and get it back into a place where you're enjoying the painting and in creative flow. So if you haven't already, you can grab that at the link in the description. It's already helped so many artists move forward with confidence in their paintings. If you're resonating with any of these 3 biggest ways that resistance shows up, maybe you're confused about how to start the painting. Maybe you get stuck when you're in the middle and knowing how to move on to the next stage. This is exactly what I created the 1 Hour Painter for. The 1 Hour Painter is a mini course that's a low cost, low pressure way to build a repeatable, consistent painting habit 1 hour at a time. I walk you through how to create beautiful, expressive paintings in just 1 hour without a complex setup, overworking the painting, or long hours at the easel. There's no huge commitment, no overwhelm, just a clear path forward so you can paint more and find yourself stressing less over your paintings. And it will also help you grow your painting skills in a way that fits with your real life. So, what do you do the next time resistance shows up? You breathe, recognize what's happening. You call it resistance. Go ahead and give it a name. You acknowledge it. You can give it a nod if you like, and then you paint anyway. That's the action. That's the magic. Even if all you have is an hour, even if the dishwasher is running and your phone is dinging and your inner critic is keeping your brain busy, even if your mind is telling you it's not worth it and you should just give up, you can show up anyway because your creativity matters. Your voice matters. Your joy and experience of painting matters. And I really believe that life is better with art in it. Thanks for being here with me today. I'll see you next time with more support, encouragement, and practical tools to help you build a joyful, sustainable painting practice. Take care now. Bye.